What if the very CEO who fired you ended up standing beside you in the fight of a lifetime? What if together you uncovered a betrayal so deep it could destroy everything, only to realize, in the middle of the storm, you've found something far more powerful than revenge? Stay with me, because this isn't just a story about saving a company. It's about risking everything for truth and finding love where you least expect it. If this story pulled you in, don't leave without showing some love. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell so you never miss the next twist, and tell me in the comments, would you forgive someone who once fired you? Share this video with a friend who loves a good drama, because this journey is just getting started. Logan Parker slammed his fist on the oak conference table, the sharp sound cracking through the tense boardroom. The clock on the wall ticked mercilessly. Just 4 hours left before the biggest night of his career. Parker Dynamics, once a golden name in the tech world, was drowning in headlines about brutal working conditions and toxic management. Investors were pulling out, journalists were circling like vultures, and every employee in the skyscraper could feel the ground shaking beneath them. "This Gala," Logan growled, his voice low but edged with fire, "is our last shot. If we blow it, Parker Dynamics is done. Do you hear me?" His assistant Tyler nodded nervously, clutching a clipboard, sweat beading along his temple. Then Tyler's phone buzzed. He froze. His face went pale as he read the message. "Sir, there's a problem." Logan's sharp eyes locked onto him. "Talk." "Vanessa just canceled. Family emergency. She won't be at the gala tonight." For a second, Logan didn't move. Then his jaw clenched, a muscle twitching under his cheek. "You're telling me," he said, his voice rising, "that my carefully planned, perfectly polished partner for tonight's gala just vanished? With 4 hours to spare?" Tyler swallowed hard. I can try to find someone else, sir, but no." Logan stood abruptly, chair screeching across the marble floor. "We don't have time for maybes." He paced toward the window, his pulse hammering in his ears. Outside, the city buzzed with late afternoon traffic, but his focus narrowed to the lobby below. People rushed back and forth, employees, couriers, guests. And then, in the chaos, he saw her. Sophia Reed, the front desk receptionist. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't even supposed to be in his world. But right now, in the middle of an impatient client demanding answers, she stood firm. Calm voice, quick hands. She scanned a document, handed over a badge, solved the problem in seconds. No hesitation, no fluster, just quiet, efficient control. Logan narrowed his eyes. Something in her poise cut through his frustration. She wasn't the image he had planned, but she was something real. "Tyler," he barked, spinning on his heel. "Who's that in the lobby?" Tyler blinked. "That's Sophia Reed, reception. Why?" Logan's tone sharpened. "Bring her up, now." Minutes later, Sophia stepped into his office, clutching a notepad like a shield. She'd never stood this close to the CEO before. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears, but she kept her chin up. "Mr. Parker, you wanted to see me?" Logan didn't waste time. He strode toward her, every movement sharp, commanding. "I have a situation. You're going to fix it. Tonight." Sophia's brows knit in confusion. "Sir?" "You're going with me to the gala," he said bluntly. 4 hours from now. You will stand by my side, smile, look presentable, and not say a word unless spoken to. Understood?" Her breath caught. She wasn't hired for this. She had zero experience with high-profile investors, zero warning. 1,000 objections ran through her mind, but his stare pinned her in place. Logan stepped closer, voice dropping but no less intense. "This isn't a request, Sophia. This is your company's future on the line. You do this, and you might help save every job in this building. Do you understand me?" For a heartbeat, the air felt heavy, electric. Sophia felt a surge of nerves, then something else. An ember of resolve sparking to life. She straightened her shoulders, gripping her notepad tighter. "Yes, Mr. Parker," she said, her voice steady, even though her pulse raced. "I understand." Logan gave a single sharp nod. "Good. Tyler, make sure she has something appropriate to wear. Elegant, sophisticated, and do it fast." Sophia's mind reeled as she turned to leave the office. Just minutes ago, she'd been sorting mail and handling phone calls. Now she was being thrown headfirst into the firestorm at the heart of Parker Dynamics. Her palms were damp, her stomach twisted with both dread and adrenaline. But deep down she felt it. Tonight was going to change everything. In the hallway, Tyler caught up to her, whispering urgently, "You okay?" Sophia drew in a breath, steadying herself. "No," she admitted honestly, a wry smile tugging at her lips despite the chaos. "But I will be." Back inside, Logan watched her disappear into the elevator, a tangle of doubts and determination churning inside him. This wasn't the plan. She wasn't the image. But something told him, maybe she was exactly what he needed. The clock kept ticking. The gala loomed closer, and the storm was just beginning. The black SUV rolled to a smooth stop in front of the glowing hotel entrance. Inside, Logan adjusted his cufflinks, his expression stone cold as the car hummed in the night. Beside him, Sophia sat stiffly, hands clasped in her lap. Her heart thudded against her ribs, but she refused to let it show. Logan's voice cut through the tense air like a blade. "Listen carefully," he said, his eyes locking on hers. "Tonight, you're here to stand beside me. Nothing else. You smile, you nod, and you do not speak. Am I clear?" Sophia met his gaze, forcing herself not to flinch. "Crystal clear, Mr. Parker." "Good." He turned away, but not before noticing that glint in her eyes, a spark that said she wasn't someone easily silenced. The car door opened, and the roar of the gala rushed in. Music, laughter, the murmur of high-stakes conversations. Flashbulbs went off near the red carpet. Logan stepped out first, shoulders squared, the picture of control. Sophia followed, her navy dress catching the soft lights, her heartbeat thundering as she matched his stride. Inside, the grand ballroom buzzed with power and money. Investors in tailored suits raised glasses of champagne. Eyes turned toward them, some curious, some critical. Sophia felt every stare like a weight on her shoulders, but she kept her posture tall. Logan leaned slightly toward her as they moved through the crowd. "Stay close, don't wander." His tone left no room for argument. They joined a circle of key investors near the center table. Among them was Marcus Hale, a man known for being both ruthless and sharp-eyed. He offered Logan a firm handshake. Then his gaze drifted toward Sophia, his curiosity clear. "And who do we have here?" Marcus asked, his smile polite but probing. Sophia felt the weight of every eye in that circle. She could feel Logan's warning echoing in her mind, but she refused to look weak. She returned Marcus's look with calm composure. "I'm Sophia Reed. I work at Parker Dynamics." Marcus tilted his head, amused. "Really? And what's your take on the storm your company's in right now?" The air tightened instantly. Logan stiffened, ready to cut in, ready to shield his company's image with the rehearsed lines he had prepared. His lips parted, but Sophia spoke first. Honestly? Her voice was steady, almost soft, but there was steel underneath. "If we want to save Parker Dynamics, we need to start with people. The employees, the ones carrying the weight every day." Silence crashed over the group. For a moment, even the background music seemed distant. Marcus blinked, surprised, then leaned in slightly, as if he hadn't expected that answer. Logan's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. He had given her one rule, one simple order, and now she had shattered it in front of the most influential people in the room. But the investors didn't look angry. They looked interested. Marcus's lips curved into a thoughtful smile. "Start with people. That's an unexpected answer." He glanced around at the others, who were now murmuring quietly, nodding, exchanging curious glances. Sophia could feel Logan's fury radiating beside her, but she held Marcus's gaze. Inside, her pulse was racing, but she wasn't going to back down. Not now. Marcus chuckled softly. Refreshing to hear someone speak from the ground level. Logan's hand twitched at his side. He wanted to pull her out of there, shut her down, end this before it spiraled. But he couldn't, not with the sudden spark of attention lighting up the faces of people he had been trying for weeks to impress. As the conversation shifted, Marcus continued asking her small questions about culture, morale, what she thought could change. Sophia answered carefully, never raising her voice, but every word carried weight. Logan stood rigid, caught between irritation and an unfamiliar sense of awe. By the time the circle dispersed, Logan's blood was still boiling, but he noticed the looks investors gave Sophia, respectful, intrigued. And deep down, though he would never admit it, a sharp pang of something else hit him. She had just turned the night upside down, and maybe, just maybe, saved him from himself. The gala wasn't over, but the game had already changed. And as Sophia followed Logan toward the next cluster of investors, her heartbeat steadied. She had broken the one rule, but for the first time, she felt like she had a voice that couldn't be ignored. Logan glanced at her out of the corner of his eye, his jaw tight, his mind spinning. He'd told her not to speak. But after hearing her, after seeing the shift in the room, he couldn't stop replaying her words in his head. Tonight wasn't going as planned. Tonight was just getting started. The next morning, the city was still waking up when Sophia stepped into the Parker Dynamics lobby. Her heart was pounding, but she forced herself to keep her chin high. Whispers followed her as she crossed the polished floor. People had seen her stand next to Logan at the gala, had seen the way investors leaned in when she spoke, but they hadn't seen what happened after. Tyler intercepted her by the elevator, eyes darting nervously. "Sophia, he wants to see you. Now." She nodded once, her grip tightening around the strap of her bag. The elevator doors closed, her reflection staring back at her, calm on the outside, but churning inside. When the doors opened on the top floor, Logan's office loomed ahead, glass walls glowing in the early sun. She knocked lightly and stepped in. Logan stood with his back to her, hands in his pockets, staring out at the skyline. For a long second, neither spoke. Then, without turning around, his voice cut through the silence, flat and cold. "You disobeyed me last night." Sophia swallowed hard, keeping her tone steady. "I answered a question, sir." Finally, Logan turned, his eyes dark, jaw tense. "You didn't just answer a question. You stole the room. You made me look like I wasn't in control, and I can't allow that." He stepped closer, his voice lowering. "You're fired." The word hit like a slap. Sophia's throat tightened, but she refused to break in front of him. Her fingers curled into fists at her sides. "All I did was tell the truth," she said quietly, her voice trembling with restrained anger. "And you know it." Logan's expression didn't soften. He pointed to the door. "Clear your desk, now." Sophia nodded once, biting the inside of her cheek to keep her composure. "Understood, Mr. Parker." She turned sharply and left, every step heavy. By the time she reached the lobby, the sting in her chest burned hotter than ever. She had risked everything last night, hoping it might matter, and now she was walking out with nothing. She pushed through the glass doors, into the brisk morning air, blinking against the sunlight. Her phone buzzed in her hand, a number she didn't recognize flashing on the screen. For a moment, she considered ignoring it, but something made her answer. "Hello? Miss Reed?" The voice was smooth, confident. "This is Ethan Cole. We met briefly last night." Sophia's steps faltered. Ethan Cole wasn't just any investor. He was one of the most respected names in the industry. "Yes, I remember you." "I don't have much time," Ethan continued, "but I wanted to tell you that what you said last night about starting with people stuck with me. Parker Dynamics needs leaders who think like that." Sophia felt her breath catch. "Mr. Cole, I don't work there anymore." On the other end, a short laugh. "That's exactly why I'm calling. I don't think Parker deserves you, but I think my East Coast division does." Sophia stopped walking altogether, the noise of the street fading around her. I'm sorry, what?" "I want you to meet me, now. Corner of 7th and Willow. Little cafe with a green awning. Can you be there in 20 minutes? Her heart raced. "Yes, I'll be there." 20 minutes later, she stepped into the cafe, still reeling from the morning. Ethan sat in a corner booth, phone in hand, but as soon as he saw her, he stood. "Sophia." She slid into the seat across from him, still trying to process. "Mr. Cole, why me?" He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, eyes locked on hers. "Because you spoke when no one else would. Because you see people, not just profit. And because I need someone like you to lead my East Coast division." Sophia stared at him, stunned. You're offering me CEO? Yes. Ethan's smile was genuine, unwavering. It's yours if you want it. The board will approve without question. I'm willing to take that bet on you. For a heartbeat, she was silent. Images flashed in her mind. Logan's furious eyes, the investors leaning in, the sting of being fired, the weight of this new chance. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed them on the table. You're serious? Dead serious, Ethan said. But this isn't about proving me right. This is about proving yourself right. Do you want this? Sophia drew in a breath, feeling the rush of fear, pride, and determination all at once. She straightened, her voice steady now, full of fire. Yes, I'll do it. And I'll prove to you, and to everyone, what I'm capable of. Ethan's grin widened as he extended his hand. Then welcome aboard, Sophia Reed. As she shook his hand, Sophia felt something ignite deep within her, a fierce resolve that burned hotter than the pain of this morning. Logan Parker might have fired her, but he had no idea he'd just set her on a path that could change everything. And Sophia Reed was just getting started. The first day, Sophia Reed walked back into Parker Dynamics as the newly appointed CEO of the East Coast Division. The tension in the building was so thick, you could feel it in every step. Heads turned as she passed through the lobby, but she didn't slow down. Her heels clicked sharply against the tile, each stride a statement. I'm not here to fade into the background anymore. When she pushed open the glass doors to the executive conference room, Logan Parker was already there, leaning back in his chair, arms crossed, a cold smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Well, he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm, look who decided to climb back into the ring. Sophia set her folder on the table with a deliberate thud and met his gaze without flinching. Not climb back in, she replied evenly, eyes sharp. I'm here to change everything you're afraid to touch. For a split second, the air went still. Then Logan let out a dry laugh. We'll see about that. The meeting began, and almost immediately, the tension erupted like sparks on dry wood. Sophia laid out her plans, clear, ambitious, unapologetic. New employee wellness initiatives, restructuring outdated systems, and direct engagement with staff on every level. Her voice was steady, passionate. Logan didn't wait for her to finish. And how much is that going to cost us? He cut in, his tone biting. Where's the proof these fluffy ideas even work? Sophia didn't blink. It costs less than losing your top talent to competitors, she shot back, sliding a chart across the table. Retention numbers don't lie, Mr. Parker. Logan leaned forward, his glare sharp. Retention doesn't pay the bills. Show me profit, show me margins, or don't waste this room's time. Sophia's pulse raced, but outwardly, she was calm, almost defiant. She clicked to the next slide in her presentation, her fingers steady on the remote. You want numbers? Here they are. She pointed to a graph showing projected growth, supported by real data. Improving conditions increases productivity by 15%. That translates directly to revenue. The room was silent, except for the low hum of the projector. Logan drummed his fingers on the table, eyes narrowing. Then he struck again, rapid-fire questions meant to corner her. What about implementation time? What about pushback from regional managers? What about the board's patience running out? Sophia answered each challenge like she'd been preparing for this all her life. I've already spoken to 3 regional managers. 2 are on board, and the 3rd will be after we meet. Implementation starts in phases next quarter, and the board wants results. They'll see them. Every word from her carried an edge, every answer slicing through his doubts. The room felt like a battleground, the executives glancing between them, as if watching a high-stakes boxing match. Logan's voice rose slightly. You think you can just walk in here and tell us how to run a company we built? Sophia didn't back down. She stood taller, planting her hands firmly on the table. I'm not here to tell you how to run it. I'm here to show you how to save it. Her voice didn't shake. It cut through the room with a conviction that made even the senior partners shift in their seats. For a moment, Logan had no comeback. His jaw tightened, eyes locked on hers, the air between them charged like a storm about to break. The meeting dragged on for another hour, every minute a duel of wits and willpower. By the end, Sophia gathered her papers, met Logan's stare one last time, and said low and steady, "Get used to it. This is just the beginning." Logan watched her leave, a storm of frustration and reluctant admiration twisting inside him. For the first time, he realized Sophia Reed wasn't a name on a payroll anymore. She was a force he couldn't ignore. And as the door closed behind her, everyone in that room knew the war between them had only just begun. The clash had started, and neither of them was backing down. Barely a week after Sophia's explosive return, the tension in Parker Dynamics went from simmering to boiling. That morning, headlines screamed across every news site. Confidential Parker. Dynamics data. Leaked. Massive internal instability. The boardroom buzzed with panic, phones vibrated nonstop, and whispers spread through every hallway like wildfire. Sophia was scanning reports when Logan stormed out of his office, his expression thunderous. He cut through the hallway traffic, locking his eyes on her like a hawk. "Reed," he snapped, his voice low but dangerous. "A word, now." She followed him into a narrow corridor by the executive lounge, away from prying ears. He spun on her so fast she almost collided with him. "Tell me the truth," Logan said, his tone sharp enough to slice. "Did you leak those files?" Sophia blinked, stunned by the accusation. "What? You've been here 5 minutes and suddenly the press has every dirty secret we've been trying to bury. You were in those systems last week. Don't play games with me." His voice rose with every word, anger and suspicion blazing in his eyes. Her heart pounded, but fury rose hotter than fear. She stepped closer, her own voice cutting through his accusations. "You think I'm that kind of person?" Her hands clenched at her sides. "I came here to fix things, not burn them down." For a moment, neither spoke. The air was thick, their glares locked like a standoff. Sophia's chest heaved with restrained emotion. "You have no idea what it's cost me to stand here," she said through gritted teeth. "And you're accusing me?" Logan's jaw tightened, but before he could respond, Tyler appeared at the end of the hall, pale and nervous. "Sir, the board wants an emergency meeting in 20 minutes. Everyone's asking who's responsible." Logan didn't answer. He just stared at Sophia for a beat longer, then walked away, leaving her in the echo of his suspicion. But Sophia wasn't about to let this ruin her. That night, after most of the building emptied, she stayed behind. She gathered her small team, people she trusted implicitly, and they dug through access logs, cross-checking data leaks against internal activity. Coffee cups piled up, monitors glowed in the dark, and exhaustion pressed heavy on her shoulders. Yet she refused to quit. Hours passed until one of her analysts gasped, "Look at this." On the screen was a trail of flagged emails routed through an executive-level account. The name froze Sophia mid-breath. Victor Grant, a senior board member. Her gut twisted. He wasn't just undermining Logan, he was setting them both up. Sophia leaned closer, her voice hushed but fierce. "This is it. This is what we needed." The door creaked behind her. She spun around, startled, and there was Logan, standing in the dim light, hands in his pockets, watching her. His expression was unreadable. "Working late, Reed?" he said quietly. Sophia crossed her arms, defensive. "Still trying to clear my name." He stepped closer, eyes narrowing at the data on the screen. "Victor," he muttered. "That snake." He turned to her, a flicker of something softer in his eyes. "You were telling the truth." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Of course I was." Logan hesitated, then did something she didn't expect. He pulled his ID card from his jacket and set it on the table. "If you need access to restricted servers, use my clearance. Don't ask permission. Just get what you need." Sophia stared at the card, stunned. "Why are you helping me?" Logan's tone dropped, quieter than she'd ever heard it. "Because if Victor takes us down, we both lose everything. And because maybe I misjudged you." Sophia's breath caught. For the first time, the hostility in his eyes was gone, replaced with something else, something like respect. They leaned over the screen together, side by side, combing through Victor's trails. Each new file they uncovered tightened the knot of tension, but also sparked a strange sense of unity. By the time dawn bled into the horizon, Sophia felt the weight of exhaustion, but also the stirrings of something unexpected. Trust. Logan glanced at her as the first rays of sunlight hit the glass walls. "You really don't give up, do you?" he said softly. Sophia allowed herself a small smile, her voice steady but warm. "Not when it matters." In that quiet, unspoken moment, the battle lines shifted. They were no longer just opponents locked in a power struggle. They were allies against something far bigger and far more dangerous. The leak was just the beginning. Now, the real fight was about to begin. The next morning, the entire top floor buzzed with rumors about the leak and whispers about Sophia's relentless investigation. But when the executives filed into the strategy room, no one expected what came next. Sophia stood at the head of the table, laptop connected to the massive screen behind her. Logan stood off to the side, arms folded, his eyes sweeping the room with the kind of authority that dared anyone to interrupt. She began calmly, but with precision, her voice steady as she showed new data they'd uncovered overnight, records that proved certain reports were fabricated and planted. The board members exchanged glances, tension mounting. "This," Sophia said, pointing to the chart, "isn't speculation. It's a pattern, and someone in this room is feeding it." An executive raised a brow. "And you're certain?" Logan's deep voice cut in before Sophia could speak. "I've verified it myself," he said, stepping closer to the table. His tone left no room for doubt. "What she's showing you is the truth." For the first time, Sophia felt the full weight of him standing beside her, not as an opponent, but as a shield. That moment, the room went quiet, no one daring to challenge them further. Hours later, the office lights dimmed as most employees went home, but on the 30th floor, two figures remained. Sophia sat at her desk, combing through Victor's network connections. Logan leaned against the window, watching the city glow below. "You know," he said quietly, breaking the silence, "you're relentless." Sophia didn't look up. "I don't have a choice." He stepped closer, voice softer. "Neither do I." Their conversation flowed easier than it ever had. No sharp edges, no ego battles, just two people exchanging thoughts, tired but unwilling to stop. Every time their eyes met, something unspoken lingered in the air, something neither of them dared name. Near midnight, a breakthrough pinged on Sophia's screen. "Logan, look at this," she whispered urgently. He rushed over, eyes scanning the evidence. They had found a chain of emails tying Victor directly to a journalist. It was everything they needed. But before they could celebrate, the door slammed open. Victor Grant himself stepped in, his face dark, his voice venomous. "You think you're clever?" he sneered, stepping closer. "Shut this down right now, or both your careers are over." Sophia froze for a split second, but Logan moved in front of her, his jaw tightening. "You're threatening the wrong people," Logan growled. Victor's eyes narrowed. "Try me." Sophia's pulse thundered, but then she felt it. Logan's hand, firm around hers, grounding her. He turned his head slightly, meeting her eyes with a spark of defiance. "We're not backing down," he said, loud enough for Victor to hear. "Not now, not ever." Victor's glare burned through them, but he backed out slowly, slamming the door behind him. The office fell into a stunned silence. Sophia exhaled shakily, her hand still in Logan's. "That could ruin everything," she whispered. Logan didn't let go. Or it could save it all. His voice was low, but there was a warmth there she had never heard before. The adrenaline, the late nights, the constant battles, it all came crashing down on her at once. Her eyes met his, searching, questioning. He stepped closer, closing the space between them. "Sophia," he began, his voice rough around the edges. "I don't know when this changed for me, but it has." Her heart raced. Logan. And before either of them could overthink it, he cupped her face gently, as if she might vanish, and kissed her under the soft glow of the desk lamp. It wasn't rushed or desperate. It was charged, filled with everything they'd fought through, everything they hadn't said. When they finally broke apart, breathing hard, Sophia touched his hand still resting against her cheek. "This is going to get complicated," she murmured, her voice trembling. Logan's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. "It already is." The city lights stretched out behind them, but in that moment, nothing else mattered. For the first time, the battlefield they'd shared felt like the beginning of something far more powerful. The war against Victor wasn't over, but together, they had just crossed a line that would change everything. By sunrise, the sleepless night still clung to Sophia's face, but her eyes burned with purpose. Logan walked beside her through the glass hallway, both carrying files, flash drives, and a shared determination that pulsed like electricity. The emergency board meeting was set for 8 a.m. sharp, and every step toward the conference room felt like marching into battle. Inside, the room was packed. Executives, board members, senior managers, all buzzing with speculation. The moment Sophia entered, conversations died. Logan followed, silent but commanding, his expression carved in steel. Sophia set her laptop on the polished table, plugged in the projector, and without hesitation, began. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice clear despite the weight in the air. "What you're about to see is not rumor or conjecture. It's evidence." With a click, the first email appeared on the massive screen behind her. Victor Grant's name in bold letters. Threads of messages showing confidential data sent to an outside journalist. Murmurs rippled across the room. She didn't pause. "This," she continued, advancing slides, "is the financial manipulation tied directly to these leaks. Notice the timestamps. Notice the login credentials." Victor, seated near the end of the table, shifted uncomfortably, his knuckles whitening as he gripped the arms of his chair. His composure cracked. "This is outrageous," he barked, shooting to his feet. "Lies, fabrications, you're twisting numbers to cover your own failures." Sophia's heart pounded, but she didn't blink. "Everything you see has been verified," she said firmly, turning back to the room. "Cross-referenced against internal audits and network access logs." Victor slammed his hand on the table, desperation creeping into his voice. "This is a setup. She's new. She doesn't understand." Logan stood abruptly, the chair scraping the floor with a sharp screech. His presence was enough to cut Victor off mid-sentence. "You want to talk about understanding?" Logan's voice was cold, deliberate. "I've spent nights combing through these files myself. I've seen the trail you left, and the board will decide, Victor, not your tantrums." The weight of his words settled over the room like a storm cloud. The senior members exchanged looks, whispers running low across the table. Victor's face flushed red, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple. "This company is crumbling because of leadership like hers," Victor shot back, pointing at Sophia. "She's the one." Logan cut him off with a sharp gesture. "Enough. You've said more than enough." His eyes locked on Victor's with the intensity of a blade. "You gambled with this company's future for your own gain, and now it's over." The chairman of the board, silent until now, finally cleared his throat. "We have what we need. It's time to vote." Sophia's breath caught in her chest. She looked around the table, watching hands raise one by one, some hesitant, others firm. The majority was undeniable. The chairman nodded grimly. "The board votes in favor of immediate removal of Victor Grant from all positions within Parker Dynamics." Victor froze, eyes darting frantically, as if searching for an escape. "You can't do this. I built this." His voice cracked as security approached. He shoved his chair back, but the weight of the room had already crushed his defiance. "This isn't over," he shouted as he was escorted out, his voice echoing down the hallway until it faded completely. For a moment, silence held the room. Then, like a dam breaking, the tension exploded into a wave of relieved chatter. Executives exchanged handshakes. Some even applauded quietly. Sophia stood still, adrenaline still rushing through her veins. Then she felt it, Logan's eyes on her. She turned and met his gaze, and in that instant, all the battles, all the accusations, all the nights spent fighting for something bigger than themselves, it all crystallized. He gave her a small nod, pride flickering across his face, and Sophia felt an unexpected surge of emotion, relief, triumph, and a deep, quiet gratitude. As the meeting adjourned and people began to file out, Logan walked over, leaning close enough that only she could hear. "You did it," he murmured, his voice low, almost reverent. Sophia allowed herself a smile, her heart still racing. "We did it." They left the room together, shoulders brushing, both knowing the war wasn't entirely over, but for the first time, they were no longer fighting against each other. They were a team, and the entire company had just witnessed it. The villain had fallen, the tide had turned, and for Sophia and Logan, this was only the beginning. Weeks after Victor's removal, Parker Dynamics felt like a different place. The headlines shifted from scandals to praise. Parker Dynamics rebounds stronger than ever. The stock price climbed steadily. The workforce buzzed with renewed energy, and for the first time in months, the company's future looked bright. Sophia's days were a whirlwind of meetings, planning sessions, and on-site visits. Yet through all the chaos, there was always one constant: Logan. He was there in every critical discussion, every high-stakes decision. And somehow, between late-night strategy calls and countless hours spent shoulder to shoulder, the sharp edges between them softened. That evening, after a grueling day finalizing a new rollout, Logan sent her a message. "Meet me on the rooftop, 8 p.m. Sophia stepped out onto the rooftop terrace, the night air cool against her skin. The city stretched out in every direction, a sea of twinkling lights and humming streets. Logan was already there, leaning against the railing, his suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up. For a moment, neither spoke. They simply stood there, letting the sound of distant traffic and faint music from a nearby gala drift around them. Then Logan turned, his eyes softer than she'd ever seen. "I've spent my whole career believing I couldn't trust anyone," he began, his voice low, steady, but threaded with vulnerability. "Not partners, not boards, not anyone. And then you walked in." Sophia felt her chest tighten, a rush of warmth spreading through her. She managed a small smile. "Then don't let me be the first person you regret trusting." Logan took a step closer, his gaze fixed on hers. "That's just it," he said quietly. "You're the first person who's ever made me want to believe in something more than just numbers and control." She felt her heart race, every word sinking deep. "Logan," she whispered, unsure what else to say. He glanced down for a second, then back up with a sudden spark in his eyes, as if a decision had just been made. Slowly, almost hesitantly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Sophia's breath caught as he went down on one knee, the city lights casting a halo around him. Her hand flew to her mouth, eyes wide, disbelief and emotion colliding all at once. "Sophia Reed," Logan said, his voice steady now, strong and certain. "You've fought beside me, challenged me, saved this company with me. And somewhere in all that, you changed my life. Will you keep walking with me? Through this? Through everything?" Tears welled in her eyes before she could stop them. She'd faced boardrooms full of skeptics, stared down threats, endured sleepless nights, but nothing had ever shaken her like this moment. She let out a breathless laugh, her voice trembling but sure. "Yes, Logan. Yes, I will." He slipped the ring onto her finger, his hands gentle, almost reverent. Then he rose to his feet, and in the soft glow of the rooftop lights, he wrapped his arms around her. For a heartbeat, the world fell away. There was no company, no scandal, no past, only the two of them, standing together against the backdrop of a city that had witnessed their battles and triumphs. Down below, the distant hum of the gala music floated up through the night air, a faint echo of where it all began. Logan pressed his forehead to hers, a quiet smile playing on his lips. "This," he whispered, "is just the beginning." Sophia closed her eyes, leaning into him, feeling the weight of every fight, every victory, every twist that had led them here. Her hand tightened around his as the city lights shimmered, and there, high above the streets, they held each other under the glow of the skyline, two hearts that had fought, bled, and risen together, ready to write the next chapter. Sometimes, the very challenges meant to break you are the ones that reveal your true strength. Sophia's journey shows that standing up for what's right, even when others doubt you, can change the course of your life and inspire those around you. In any workplace or relationship, integrity and courage are far more powerful than fear. It's not about never facing setbacks. It's about refusing to stay down when you're underestimated or mistreated. Like Sophia, you can turn rejection into an opportunity and transform conflict into connection. What about you? Have you ever turned a difficult moment into a breakthrough? Share your story in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story like this.